खेळ तालुका काय असतं? खेळ तालुका इकडे दिलेला आहे बघा.
Okay. Good evening, guys. Let's start with today's session. Very good evening, all of you. Hope you all are well. Now, in the last session, we discussed about what do you mean by JDK, that is Java Development Kit. Then we discussed about Java Runtime Environment and Java Virtual Machine. Right, guys? I hope all the three things are clear to you. So if you want to develop your program and run the program, so what all things we need? Java Development Kit. If you just want to run the program, then what is needed? Java Runtime Environment. And what is Java Virtual Machine that I have told you? It's a tool which is responsible for converting bytecode to line-by-line machine code. It is responsible for memory allocation, garbage collection. It is responsible for thread scheduling. I mean, lot of responsibilities of OS. Then I guess we started with one tool, that is JAVAC or Java Compiler. That too in the last session we have discussed. Some part we have discussed. So what this tool does, Java C or a Java compiler. So this tool will take input as your Java source file with the extension .java. Right, guys? Then this tool will check in your source file if there are any syntax errors. If yes, then it will tell you all the syntax errors along with the line number. And no, then it will convert it into a Java executable, also called as a bytecode or a hypothetical code or a virtual code or a machine code for a virtual machine. In such machine code which is not for a real machine, it's for some hypothetical machine. So it will convert it into bytecode. And is bytecode also a file? Yes, with an extension .class, right? So as I said, Java tool. So this is a tool which reads your class interface. Now you people don't know about what is interface, clear? But when we'll come to the appropriate chapter, you'll get to know what is the difference between a class and an interface. Don't worry. But it will read the class or the interface definition, okay, which you have written in a Java language. And it is saved in a .java extension file. File name can be anything, extension .java. And it will compile it into a bytecode. So in short, it is going to check whether your code is correct in Java language, syntactically, semantically, syntactically. It will do the checking. And once the checking is done, it will convert it into a Java executable called as a bytecode, which you will give it later to Java interpreter for execution, right? In a block form, I can show you. Okay, this is your Java compiler, which is a tool. And is this the tool part of Java Development Kit, guys? Yes. But if you have only Java runtime environment, so you don't need this. Okay? Because when you want to execute, that time only your virtual machine along with the library is sufficient, which is part of your JRE. So this is the Java compiler. It will take input as your Java source file. Now you can create that source file with any editor. It is up to you. You can create it using simple notepad also, or you have some special editors which are only for Java purpose. You can, like as I said, there are some IDEs, integrated development environments, like Eclipse, NetBeans, then even JetBrains and all, they have come with IntelliJ, which is specially for Java. That is also a very comfortable and very nice IDE. So you can use that too, or Eclipse. So now your syllabus recommends Eclipse, so we'll be using Eclipse. Don't worry. Okay, I'll show you how to use Eclipse and do programs within it. But initially, for initial stage, what we'll do is we'll do it through Notepad and through terminal or through command prompt. I'll show you, and gradually we'll move to that software. Okay, so with any software, any editor, you can create your Java source file, which should have extension .java. The source file name can be anything, but the extension has to be .java. This tool will read the source code, and as I said, it will check the syntax of Java language, whether they are followed or no. No, then it will give you appropriate errors, syntax semantic errors. Getting? Then if suppose it's not having any error, then it's going to convert it into a Java executable, also called as a bytecode. But as we call it as Java executable, to run it, you need to have a virtual machine. And some people have given or distributed virtual machines for nearly every OS, and it comes or it is shipped with all OS. Right? Now, this bytecode is also a file with the extension .java. Right? Now for time being, here I have shown first.class, but I guess last time I have told you the name of the .class, does it depend on your source file name, or does it depend on the name of the class which you have typed within this file? Do you remember, guys? All that discussion in the last session we have done, right or no? So what is the name of the .class? Is the name of .class depending on the name of your .java, or does it depend on the name of the class which you have typed within it? Yes, can anyone tell me? It depends on?
It depends on class name.
Class name, not on the source file name. What is your source file name? That doesn't matter. It depends on the class name. So many times what happens, people give the class name and the file name same. Many times it happens. Okay, class name also they keep same and the file name same. Therefore, when they compile it, so in the directory they get .class also with the same name. But actually it is not like that. Your class name can be different and the file name can be different. Your source file name is first.java, and inside that the class which you have typed can be class customer. So when you'll compile in the directory, you'll see first.class or customer.class. Obviously customer.class, right? Because the class name depends on, when a class file name depends on the class name. Okay, and in one source file, can we type any number of classes? Yes, guys. In one source file, can I type any number of classes? Yes. Any number, as many classes you want, you can type. And as many classes, that many .class will be there in the directory. Clear? Quickly, I'll give you a demonstration. Don't worry. Okay? So as many classes you'll type, that many .class will be there in the directory. Okay? Then last time I told you, when we need to give the file name and the class name same. If the class is public. So within that source file, if you have typed one class and you have given the access specifier to that class as public, then the class name and the file name, you have to keep it same. It's mandatory. And because of that, one true false statement had asked that every source file can have at the most one public class. What do you say? True or false? Every source file can have at the most one public class. Is it true or false?
True.
True. Clear? Okay, maybe I'm not seeing the chat window, so you can just unmute and you can tell me. So one source file can have maximum at most one public class. Because if you type more than one public class, so you have to give that name to the source file. So can you give multiple names to one file? No. So obviously you have to save it in separate files with that name. Okay, so I hope it is clear. See here, the syntax I'm telling. If you are not going to use any IDE, Like integrated development environment, you are not going to use initially. At very initial stage, you are going to do manually each and everything on the command prompt. That is your terminal prompt or shell prompt. So you in Linux based system, you'll call it as a shell prompt. You'll open a terminal and there you'll do it. Or in Windows, you'll open a command prompt and then you'll do. So javac and then the file name. Getting? Now suppose if you want to compile multiple files with the extension .java, you can give the name of all the files also one after another. See here, javac, first file, second file, and going on. This javac tool will compile each file one after another. It will compile first file, then second file, third file, going on. Okay, so all the files will get compiled one after another. There is another option also. Like suppose you are developing a project and in that now you have created a list of .java. Getting? And every time you need to compile them. So instead of giving this all names one after another, one thing you can do, you can type the names of that .java in one text file. You can create one text file. Inside that you type the names of all that Java files. And then now to this javac tool, you give that text file name preceded with ampersand. Getting? This way. See, javac @ and that text file name. Okay, so example I have given filenames.txt and before that you'll put @. Right guys? So now in this file, which is a text file, inside that you can give the list of all the file names. See here, I've shown. This is that text file. Okay, filenames.txt, and inside that I have given the list of all the file names. Login.java, report.java, a.java. So all the file names I have listed one below another. Okay, so now what will happen? Will it compile filenames.txt or will it compile the files which are file names which you have written within that txt? So within that txt, all the file names which you have given, these files will get compiled one after another. So it will compile login, report, all these files will get compiled one after another. Right? Okay. Sure, no? So till here, I hope it is clear. Is the third technique also clear to you? Like generally the third technique is useful when you want to compile a bunch of files and it's very hectic to write that names every time. So what you can do, you can give the list of all the file names in one file, create one separate text file, right? You'll create a separate text file in that you'll list out all the .java name one after another, okay? And give that text file name to javac tool, okay? But precede with ampersand. Don't forget to precede it with ampersand, because if you don't precede, it will consider this only as a source file. That filenames.txt only will be treated as a source file. You understanding? And it will try to compile this file only. And then it will say it's an invalid source file, invalid Java source file. So we don't want to compile filename.txt. We want to compile the files whose names which we have written in that file. So write @. Okay? Okay? Till here it is clear. Right guys? Yes or no? You can give me confirmation. Just you can type it in the chat window also. No problem. Okay? Okay. Good. Please quick confirmation. Compilation process. Okay. I'll show you one example. Now we'll assume that JDK is being installed in my machine, but later I'll show you how to install it. Okay, so don't worry. I'll show you the installation process, but for time being, we'll assume that JDK is there in my machine. So what I'll do, I'll start one command prompt, cmd. I hope you know how to start command prompt in Windows. Just type cmd. This command window will come. Okay? Better what you do is create your own folder and then in that you save all your programs. Okay, so now it is default in this users. So I won't do it here. I'll go to some other drive, like I'll go to D:. ठीक है. Now when I'll write D colon, it will go in D drive, isn't it? Now here first what I'll do is I'll create one folder. Okay, I'll give name as TY 2021-22. Okay, I'll give a folder name. So how to create a directory, mkdir, and then the folder name I've given. I hope you're understanding, guys. Clear? So in D drive, if you want to go on some other drive, it's up to you, or you want to remain in the same drive like C drive only. Up to you where you want to create the folder. Good practice is save it in some proper folder that is called as your workspace. So mkdir, I'll give name as ty 2021-22. Enter. Now the directory is created. I'll go in that directory, ty 2021-22. Okay? Right, guys? And now if I do dir, which in Linux we do it by, in Linux system we do it by ls. So here we do it by dir. Is there any file in this folder currently? Yes or no? No file is there currently. This is the current directory, this is the parent directory entry. No file is there. What we'll do is we'll create one file now. Okay. Now first we'll not understand what that program is. First we'll understand the file mechanism. Okay, like how that .java is created and how that .class is created. And then we will understand that program properly, one by one. Okay, so don't worry about it. First, just understand the file technique, how the files are created and all, right? Till here, I hope it is clear to you guys. No file. What I'll do is I'll start Notepad. Now, initially we'll do it with Notepad. No worries. Later, as I said, we will be doing it properly in a proper integrated environment like Eclipse. And then we will get used to that environment only. Getting? Some people do it in that Visual Studio Code also. Many environments are there through which you can do it. IntelliJ is also recommended. So now for time being, I'll open Notepad. I hope you know all that basic things. Okay, keep interacting, all of you. Please interact, because maybe every time I may not go in the chat window. So please interact. So I have created a Notepad file. I'll save it first. File, save. Okay, guys. Okay. I'm saving it in some folder. So now the folder we have created in D colon, in D drive, we created one folder ty 2021. Isn't it? 2021, 22. In that folder, I'm going to save my file. Suppose I'm going to save first.java and just see to it this text part is in a text file. You change it to all files. Otherwise, what will happen if you don't do it? You'll keep it this. So it will give you by default extension .txt. Getting? So just see to it. You'll save it with the extension .txt. Sorry, very sorry for that. .java, and just select from your all file, and I'll save it now. Okay. Okay. Now this is your first.java. For time being, okay, for time being, I'm going to create class first. In that, I'm just going to add one main method, public static void main string args. Just hello I'm going to display system.out.println. Don't at all worry about what all these things are. For time being, I just want to explain you the file mechanism, how that files are created and all. Then we are going to discuss about each and every part. What is this word class, that word file, word public, everything about static, about void, each and everything I'll tell you about this system class, then out object. Don't worry, clear? Each and everything, what this args is, okay? So everything we'll discuss. Now we will just understand the file technique. Okay, so I hope till here it is clear. I started Notepad, then I saved that file with the extension dot Java and I gave name first. Now within that I typed one class first with one main with hello world. Okay, now you can see in this directory dir, is there one file first.java? Yes or no?
Yes.
Clear? So there is one file first.java. Now first we'll compile this. Now in my machine JDK is already installed. Okay, so it is showing me, I'll be able to compile it. Maybe now in your machine JDK is not installed, so it will give you a bad command, clear, or command not found, right? So Javac, if you just want to check what is the version currently available, so you can just write Javac minus minus version, clear, okay, only minus version, okay. Is it showing 1.8? So currently in my machine JDK 1.8 is installed. So it is showing 1.8. Right? Okay. See here. Now what I'll do is Javac and my file name I'll give first.java. Right? When we go in Eclipse and then from there we'll do the program. There at that time you don't have to do all this. It's going to happen automatically through that ID. That ID will do everything in the background. Getting? You just have to click the run option and automatic the compilation will happen. Getting? It will run the code also. You don't have to do it. Now I'm just telling you manually. Okay. Now when I wrote Javac first.java, it has come on the prompt. Now you say dir, and now can you see there are two files in the directory. One is first.java and second is first.class. Right guys? But now when you see first.java and first.class, so from this don't conclude that dot class name is the same as the source file name. Here why we got the dot class name also first? Because you gave the class name also first. Isn't it? Clear? Now what I'll do is, for time being, I'll change the name of this first and I'll give it as X suppose. Okay? And what I'll do is, I'll type some more classes just to show you that in one source file, you can have multiple classes. Like suppose this is class X, this is class Y, getting? This is class Z. And every class can have main, doesn't create any problem. Clear? Suppose hello world 3, hello world 2, and hello world 1. Correct? Maybe you are having one inner class also, like class A. Time being I am keeping it empty. Okay? Or here we are having, in Y, I am having class A. Inside that again I am having class B. Okay? Empty classes I have kept for time being. Class B is an empty class, but it is within A and A is within Y. Here A is within X. Okay? Okay? I have saved it. Right guys? For you people, first I'll remove that first dot class. Now rm is a Linux command. Here I have to write del and first dot class. Okay? A lot of Linux commands are practiced, so normally it becomes little bit confusing when we come to Windows. So there we generally write rm. Here it is del. But check in the directory, okay, for time being, is there only first.java? I have deleted that bytecode. And now in first.java I did changes like this. I typed 3 classes, X class, Y class, Z class. And then in X class there is one more inner class A. Here also inner class A, inside that B. Okay. Now if I compile it, Javac first.java, and I'm doing dir. Can you check now how many dot class are there? Your source file name is first.java, but do you have first.class in the directory? Tell me
No.
yes or no.
No.
Clear? But
No.
dot class are which one? See, x dot class, y dot class, z dot class, then x dollar a, y dollar a dollar b dot class. Is it right? Y dollar a dot class. Can you see? Because for each class, a separate class file is created. Is a separate class file created for this B class, but B is within A and A is within Y. So the file name for this class is Y dollar A dollar B. Okay, and this is also a separate class. So there will be a dot class for this also, which is within Y, so Y dollar A. So that many dot class. So from this, what you will conclude? Can anyone conclude? Can in crux tell me in one line, what do you understand from this?
By which line, sir?
Pardon? From this, what do you observe? In one line, you have to tell me. From this dot classes, what conclusion do you make? What inference you do? You people should now do an inference from this, a conclusion. In one line, you should answer. What do you think?
Sir, as many classes are we making, that many files will be made.
Yes, very good. Exactly what is saying is right. I hope others also should agree. As many classes we type in the file, that many dot class will be there in the directory. Getting? Let it be it's a inner class, but for inner class also there will be a separate dot class. The naming convention I told you. Getting? And every dot class name depends on that class name. And always remember, as many classes, that many dot class. It doesn't depend on your .java file name. See here, did we create only one .java file? Yes, I typed only one notepad file. But in the directory, one .java, but how many dot class? As many classes are there in the file. Okay, and whatever is the class name, that is the name of your bytecode. Okay, so this part is concluded. Sure, no? Okay, I'll conclude now. Now, next thing is, if suppose I would have given here public, okay, and I'll try to compile. Will the compiler complain?
No.
No, just think again.
Yes.
Yes. Why compiler will complain?
Because the class A is not.
Class A, class X. Why compiler will complain? It will complain because class X is
Public class.
yes, and the file name is not same as that class name.
Yes, yes, yes.
You got it? So observe that observation, because these are all the basic things when they ask an interview. In interviews, when you are applying for Java developer, they'll check whether you are clear with the file naming conventions and on what basis .java are created, and on what basis dot classes are created. All these basic things are checked. Can every file have main? Every class can have main or no? All things are checked. Okay. So now, as this X class, you have typed public. And yesterday only I told you, whenever the class is public, its name and the file name has to be same. Now when you'll compile, it will say class X is public, save it in the file x.java. It will advise you and it will give an error, compilation error only. It will say X is a public class, please save it in the file x.java. Getting? See here, I'll show you the error. Each errors you have to note it. Error noting is also, those who plan for Java certifications. Now you know, like currently Sun is doing great only on the basis of certifications. And in companies nowadays, instead of degrees, the certifications are also creating value. Like if you don't have degree but you have good certifications, getting Sun is having many level certifications. So if you are doing the very first level certification, in that all these things are asked. So Sun certificate, which is previously they used to call it as Sun certificate, now it is called as Oracle OCP. Previously it was SCJP, now it is OCP paper. So Oracle certification they call. So in that all these basic things are asked. Like, see here, JAVAC first.java, it complains, see, class X is public, should be declared in a file named x.java. So from this, we should make it clear that whenever the class is public, the file name and the class name has to be same. Agreed?
Yes, sir.
Okay, hope it is clear. Let's move on to the next thing now. Now what we'll do is we'll write a very basic program and we'll try to understand each and everything in it. Okay, and then we will move to the second tool. Second tool, that is Java tool. JAVAC is over. Now Java. We want to run the program. No? As we want to run the code, we have to go for the second tool, that is Java tool, whose responsibility is to load your .class, then create an instance of it, then call main, and then start running it line by line. Okay, line by line, converting machine code, executing. So that is the second tool. So we'll discuss about that, but before that we'll take one very simple program. Okay, so all the points are clear, right? See, now we will see how to write a very basic program. Okay, so first thing you have to remember, every Java program is to be written within a class only. You cannot write a single line code outside class, which is not allowed, because Java is a true object oriented programming. Clear? Like C++. C++ is not a true object oriented. It is just an object based language. Means in that you can write a procedure code also and an object oriented code. Here it is strictly object oriented. Not a single line of code is outside class. You have to include everything within the class. Right? So you will give class as a keyword. After that there will be class name, open brace, and within that body, open brace and close brace, there is no need to put semicolon, which you have to put it in C++ classes. In case of C++, all classes are completed with semicolon. Here there is no need to put a semicolon. Okay, all these things, true false statement they'll ask. So keyword class, then the class name, and the entire definition of that class will be within open brace, close brace. Okay, so the complete definition of the class will be enclosed within open brace, close brace. And within that class body, there will be data plus methods. Getting? Now methods means functions, but they are within the class, therefore we should call it as method. So methods are functions in which you will be writing logic, algorithm, in which the data will be getting accessed or manipulated. So your data is getting accessed or manipulated within that method. So there you are writing a logic. That logic can be simple logic to any complicated business logic, anything it can be, in which you are processing the data, or you are accessing the data, or you are returning the data back to the outside world. Getting? So every class body will have data plus method within it. Getting? They are actually called members. They are called members because they belong to that class. So they are the members of that class. So who are the members of the class? Data members also, and member functions also. Member functions are methods, and this is data. Data represents what? The real world thing. In real world, data represents characteristic, and method represent behavior. Isn't it? Clear? So I hope you got it. Data plus method concept. Right. Now this data and method are also further classified. I mean, further they are classified. So that we have to first make it clear. Unless and until that things are clear, we cannot proceed further. Okay, guys. So first we need to make that thing perfect. What that things are, that we'll quickly discuss. See. So as I already said, every class will contain the data part and the methods. Clear? Now both the data as well as the method, they are categorized into two. One is called as instance. Now those who are C++ already programmers, they know it. Those who are not, it's okay, I'm telling you now. So data can be instance data and it can be a static data. Okay? Data can be of two types. One is instance data, one is static data. Now you'll say, what is the difference between them? I am coming to it. Each and everything I'll tell you. Instance data means which is separate for each object. Each object will have its separate copy. Getting? And it will come into existence only when you'll create an object. Unless and until you create object, instance data will not come into existence. Okay, all the points you should remember, very basic points. So instance data will come into existence only when you create an object of that class. An object means copy. So when you'll create a copy of that class, instance data will come into existence. And it is separate for each object. Okay, just as an example, see here, guys. Okay, each and every part I'm going to tell you. Here, if I have written integer x, or here I have written float y, and to which you can give access specifiers also, public, private, protected, nothing. Okay, so we'll talk about that separately, don't worry. Here you can give the access specifiers also. Like you can write private access specifier or public access specifier or nothing or protected. Okay, so let it be. That will separately discuss. We'll keep a topic separate for access specifier. Now when I'm declaring this x or y of type float or type integer, here I haven't used keyword static. I've used keyword static? No. Means they are instance data. Okay, so whenever you don't use any keyword static before that variable declaration, no keyword static is there, automatic you should know, okay, it is instance data. But now when this instance data will come into existence, when you'll create objects of it. So whenever you'll create object, every object will have a separate copy of x and y. See here, now you have created one object of that class, one more object of that class. Every object will have its own x and y. One x and y copy will be in this object. Again, this, yes, I'm coming to that. Clear? I'm coming to that, all the things. X and y. You understanding? I'll tell you that all things when how to create an object, that time I'll tell you, don't worry. I just now wanted to differentiate between the instance and the static. Okay, so whenever you'll create a whenever you are considering the data as an instance data, it is separate for each object. This object will have its own copy of xy, this object will have its own copy of xy. And when they are going to come into existence, whenever you will create a object. Is it right? And this in more detail when we'll come to the topic scope. There is a concept called scope rule in Java. Okay? Hope this part is clear to you. Now if I talk about static, then that data is having only one copy and all the objects are going to share that one copy. It is kept in some common namespace, means a separate space is created, and in that common space that variable is created, and all objects are going to share from that common space. First of all, so static means, is it separate for each object? No. Clear?
No.
Okay, it is not separate for each object. It is common for all objects. All objects are going to share that one copy only if it is static. But don't confuse, static means is it constant? No, static meaning you can change it. Remember, it is not constant. How to create constant in Java is a separate topic, don't worry. So it is shared by all the objects. So it is created in some common space. Where it is, that too I'll tell you. Maybe Pratik is knowing already. Clear? But
Yes, sir.
clear? Where it gets the space, I'll tell you later. Don't worry. Just remember that there is one common space. Okay? And in that static gets the memory. And every object is going to share it. Get it? Because it is not separate for everyone. Right? And it will come into existence at the time of code loading only. Whenever your bytecode gets loaded in memory for execution, that time only it gets the space. Understand, guys? It is not going to get space when objects are created. Means, in short, if I say static exists prior to the object creation. Okay, if the statement is asked like that. Or static exists irrespective the object is created or not. Means you create object or you don't create. Who is in existence or who has got space? Static. Because static gets the space when at the time of code loading in some common shared space. And later when you create objects, every object will get its own instance data. And they all are going to share it. So can I say you create an object or you don't create? Who is in existence? Yes, guys. Who is there in existence?
Static.
Static. Clear? So you create your object or you don't create? Who is there? Static. And when are static created? At the time of code loading. And remember, a static exists till your program doesn't terminate. Till your program doesn't terminate, static will remain in existence. So, who is having the biggest life or who enjoys very big life? Static. Why big life? Because they come at the very beginning, at the time of code loading, and they remain till your program doesn't terminate. Getting? Okay, now in short, I have told you. Later some more things you'll come to know about instance and static, but basic difference is clear. Instance, separate copy for each object. Every object will have a separate copy, 1 point. Second, they will come into existence when you create a object. Okay? And what about static? It is common to all objects, kept in some common shared space, and all objects are going to share it. And it comes into existence when? At the time of code loading. And it will remain till the program doesn't terminate. Till the program doesn't terminate, it will remain. Getting, guys? Okay? So this is one important point you have to remember. Now this part is done. Like data is instance data, static data. Okay? Coming to methods. Methods means functions. And now, how do we recognize it is static? Obviously using keyword static. Tell me. Here if I write static int z. So what is the difference? X and Y will be separate for each object. But Z will be common to all. Right, guys? X and Y will be separate copy. As many object, every object will have XY. Every object will have XY. But Z will be common. And all objects will share that common Z. Okay? Okay? Coming to the methods part. Now what are methods? You know, functions. They are performing some logic. They're taking some argument, they're returning something back to the outside world. They're taking something from the outside world. Right, guys? But methods also are of two types, instance and static. Okay? I hope you're understanding. Right, guys? Clear? So you're understanding what is instance data and what is static data. Instance method, static method. Instance method, static method. Okay. Now what is instance method? So instance method means a method which can access both the data. Instance method is allowed to access both the data. And to invoke that instance, we need to have an object of that class. Means without the object, you cannot call that instance method. Getting? And it is having right to access its instance data also and static data. Getting? See here. To invoke that instance method, like for example, I have written void f. I'll call it as instance only, guys. Yes, because I have not used word static. So if there is no word static here, it's an instance method. First thing is to call this f, I need to have an object of this class. Now how to create objects and all I'll tell you. But assume there is an object, then object dot f and then round bracket. If it is taking some parameter, you can pass. If it's returning, collect. It's up to you. But to invoke that method means to call that method or to call that function, you need to have an object. Unless and until you create an object, you cannot call it. You understanding? Clear? So now tell me, when you're calling this f, already what is created and then only we can call it? Object is created. Yes or no, guys? Object is already created and then only we can invoke it. So as the object is already created, can it access that object data? What is the object data? Instance or static? That object data is which data? Instance data or static data, guys?
Both.
How come both? Object data. The data which is belonging only to that object. Which is the data which belongs to only object. This is the common property. This is not individual property. But what is the common, its own property?
Instance.
Instance. Then static is common to all. Yes or no?
Yes, for object instant only.
Clear? Then instance is only for that object. Instance is only for that object. And static is shared by all. All objects can share it. So that's what I'm saying. When you're calling this method f, you can call, first of all, tell me if it is instance. To call it, you need to have what? An object. So when the object is created, that object data this f can access. This f can access that object data. Meaning it can access which data? I told that the method is instance. If the method is instance, it can access instance data. Now why it is able to access instance data? Because to call that instance method, we have to first create what? Object and then only call it. So when the object is created and then we are calling, so obviously what is existing? That object data. So it can access it. And when you're calling that instance method, who has already come into existence? Can you tell me? The static data. Does static data come into existence at the time of code loading only? Irrespective you create object or you don't create. You make object or you don't. Who has come into existence? Static. So can this method access the static data as well? Can the instance method access the static data also? Yes, because it is already existing. Long back at the time of code loading it has come. So long time at code loading only it has come into existence. So why can't it access? And second, it can access its own data also. Why? Because to call it, you have to create what? Object. And after creating object only you can call it. So both are existing, and therefore this instance method is having access to both. Okay, so first remember, instance method can access both the data, one. And to invoke instance method, you need to have what? An object. Okay, but if it is a static method, now you'll say how to recognize. Obviously very simple, by using the keyword static. Static void f. Getting? Sorry, both cannot be at time. So I'll give name G. Okay, so static void G. Now this G is static method because you have written word static. Now first remember, if the method is static, it can access only static data. It cannot access instance data. It can only access static data. And to invoke that static method, there is no need of object. You can directly invoke it by the class name. Getting? Always remember, whenever any method is invoked by attaching a class name dot method, immediately you have to recognize that it is a static method. And when you are invoking it via object, it is a which method? Instance method.
Yes.
Is it clear to you guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So the basic thing is clear. Okay. If it is an instance method, it can access both the data, and to invoke it, first you need to create what? An object. Now how to create object, I didn't told you. I'm coming to that, don't worry. Clear? How to create an object of this class, I'll show you. But object means copy of that class. And you know, class acts like a data type, and object act like a variable of that data type. Isn't it? So ob.f, when I'm saying object.f, sure it is a instance. And if it is instance, it can access that object data also, that is instance data, and it can access that shareable data, that is static data. And when you are invoking by class name dot, sure it is a static method and it can access only the static data. Why it is? Because why it is not able to access the instance data? Can anyone tell me? Why this G is not having access to this instance data? Why it can only access static data? Because
Object is not created.
yes, very good. The object is not created means to call it, there is no need only to create object. You can call it directly by class name dot. Okay. Now the basic difference is clear to you. That is what is instance and what is static. Okay. So in Crux, just will revise it or recap it again. Inside the class, what is encapsulated? First tell me.
Data plus method.
Yes, very good. So in a class, data and method is encapsulated. Point one. Then that data and that method both can be of instance type, static type. Right? If the data is instance, it is separate for each object. Every object will have its own copy, and it will come into existence only when the object is created. Right, guys? Clear? And if
Yes,
it is static data, it is shared by all object. Only single copy is created. All objects share that single copy. Right? And it is kept in some shareable memory. Shared memory, one copy only. And it will come into existence at the time of code loading only. You don't bother. Once only at the time of code loading it is created, and it will remain in memory till your program doesn't terminate. Okay. Then method. Instance method can access instance data, static data both. And to invoke that method, you need to have an object. Right? And if it is a static method, to invoke it, no need of object. Class name is sufficient to invoke it, and it can access only static data. It doesn't have access to instance data. How it can access instance data? Because no object is associated with it. So when the object is not associated, how it can access instance data? It is only allowed to access static data. Okay, so till here I hope everyone is clear with it. Quickly I'll tell you how do we create object, and then we'll take one very simple program of printing hello world, and in that each and every word we'll discuss. Okay, now how objects are created, that I'll tell you. To create an object, first you have to do object declaration. See, class name and the object if I write, name of the object. Remember, this is just object declaration. Okay, object declaration means it is like creating a reference variable, yet the copy is not created, yet the memory is not allocated. Understand carefully, guys. Okay, and remember this line which I have written, a class name obj, that also you have to write within some method. You cannot write it outside class. I have given here, I wrote this line here, but you have to write it within the class only, inside some method. Okay, within some method only you have to write it. But here only the object declaration is done. Means in short, only one reference variable is created, like a pointer. Okay, we create a pointer and then we store address in that pointer. If you are thorough with thorough with C pointer concept, so you know we declare a pointer. Tell me, integer star p. So is it just a variable which is going to contain an integer address? It is a variable in which there will be an integer address, but yet it has not come. Only when I'll write p equal to malloc something and I'll give size of int. So will it allocate memory as much is needed for one integer? As much is needed for one integer, that much memory is allocated, and its address we store in p. Same concept here. Clear? But in Java we don't get direct memory address. Okay, never we get direct memory address. So first remember what is created, one reference variable. Okay, and that reference variable will be on the stack. Always remember, every program, every Java program will get 4 sections. Getting? There will be a code section in which your bytecode is kept, dot class. Your dot class is loaded here, your bytecode. Then there is a data section where the static is kept. Whatever is your static is kept here. So this is the shared part, the shared memory where all objects are going to share it. So that is the static part is in this data section. Then we have heap where everything which is allocated, runtime is kept. Okay, and all the parameters and the local variable, all local variable and parameter are on the stack. Getting? Now tell me this line, class name obj. Obviously this I won't write it here. I have to write it within the class only, within some method. Okay, so here this obj is just created on the stack. You understanding, guys? Okay, but in which the reference has not come yet. Then you have to do the object instantiation by this way, and you can combine this both line. I have written separate, but you have to write like this: obj equal to new operator, class name, round bracket. Okay, you'll say why round bracket? So obviously here also some function is called, but which function? So it is called as one magic method. It's a magic method called as constructor. Why magic method? Because we don't call it. It's going to get called implicitly, but it is called as a magic because it's going to get called implicitly. it is called as a constructor, but we will discuss it that appropriate time. Now just remember new class name. Here the actual what is done, object instantiation. Getting? Means here the copy is created of that class, and when the copy is created, will it allocate memory for its instance data? Yes, and that is done on the heap. So it will allocate memory for X, it will allocate memory for Y, and then that object reference will go in this OBJ. Means you can remember your BMW, getting your Harley Davidson, whatever is there, that is in heap, and the key of your Hayabusa or whatever is in the stack, and stack is your house, you can say. Okay, in the apartment, in particular flat you are staying, and there you have a key holder, and there the key is kept, and that key is of your BMW, and the BMW is kept in the parking, and that BMW which is in the parking is the heap part. You understanding, guys? Clear? So always remember, object will come into existence only when you'll use new. So object instantiation and object declaration are two part. In Java, when you write class name and the variable name, only object is declared. Means in short, only a reference variable is created, or you can say only a key holder is created in my house. I've just created and kept a key holder. Getting? Like this, the hooks are there, and yet the key is to be put on it. Okay, so now on some festival or something we have purchased something, so we bring it, keep it in the parking, and then the key we put it over here. Getting or no? Clear? So now only what is created, a reference variable, that is object declaration. And when you'll write new class name round bracket, the copy of that class is created, and when the copy is created, these instance variable, okay, will get the memory on the heap, and the reference of that is kept in this OBJ. Getting? And this Z, which was static, it has already got memory in this data section. Getting? And when it got, when the bytecode of your class, the bytecode of your class got loaded in the memory from the disk. So when the bytecode came in the memory, that time only that static got memory in the data section. It is a shared part. Every object are going to share it. Agreed, guys? So suppose if I create one more object, here I write obj1. Okay, and again I create one more, obj1 equal to new class name. So is one more copy created? Okay, so will there be a reference variable obj1 on stack, and on the heap again a separate copy, separate X, separate Y, and the reference is kept there. Do you agree? Yes or no? Clear? The reference is kept there.
Yes, sir.
But Z is common in the data section, and both OBJ and OBJ1 both can access that Z. Okay, so hope this part is clear to you people. You encapsulate everything within a class. That class contains data, method, data can be instance static, method can be instance static, then how to create a variable, sorry, object. So object first declaration, object instantiation. And once the instantiation is done, can it access it method and properties by a dot operator, dot, and then it can access it members. So members can be data member also and methods also. Okay, till here it is clear to you guys? Yes or no? Quick confirmation.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now we will type a very simple program, class first. Now don't please make confusion that whatever the file name, that only you have to give to the class name. No such hard and fast rule. Getting? The class name and the file name has to be same, is no such rule. and in one file you can type any number of classes. Only the rule is, if you have created a class as public, then you have to give that name of the class to the file name. Clear? So I am creating one simple class first, and then in that one method I am putting public static void main string args open brace, and then in that only one output statement, hello world. Okay, each and everything we have to discuss. Okay, each and everything. And if someone asks you, explain first Java program, explain first Java program, and if you write this 5 lines, so at least 1 hour you should be able to tell only on that first Java program. For 1 hour you should be able to talk only on that, by telling each and every concept, what is class, what is first, then what is public, what is static, getting what is that void, each and everything you should be able to tell. Okay, so now we'll start discussing about this. Now only remember, before this class keyword, you can have modifiers also and access specifiers also. Access modifiers, access specifiers we call it as. Okay, so access specifiers like private or public or protected, okay, or nothing, which I here in this case I have not written anything before it. Before the class keyword I have not written any of this. Okay, so nothing also is allowed, or private or public or protected, that is your access specifiers you can put, is allowed, right? And normally I'm saying the rule is, Java's rule, that if it is a top level class, then you cannot give private or protected. You can give public or default. Top level class means a class which is not within any class. A class which is not within any class, it's called as a top level class. Okay, so if it is a top level class, you are not allowed to give private over here. See here, private class A. Is it a top level class? Yes. So you cannot give private. You cannot give protected. If it is an inner class, a class within a class, then it is allowed. You can give private or protected, right? But top level class cannot have private, protected. Either default. Again I am saying default. Default means I am not using any keyword. Or you can give public. Okay. But the thing is, before the class keyword, what can be there? That specifies. And along with that, there can be modifiers also. Now modifiers are static or abstract. What is the meaning of that? I'll come to it. Don't worry. Now just remember what is allowed, what is not allowed. Final. These are some modifiers. Okay, and their combination, both can come. Means you can have static, okay, and as well as public. So modifier and specifier, access specifier, access modifier, both to and fro also. Public static, static public, both allowed. Doesn't matter. Correct? So what all things can come before that class word, that is clear. Access specifiers like public, private, protected or nothing. Modifiers also like final,
Static.
abstract, static. There is a meaning. If you write it as abstract class, if you write as a static class, if you write as a final class, there is a meaning. Don't worry. Clear? Everything in one day. Getting in one day. They say like Rome was not built in one day. Obviously, if you're planning to do Java in 10 hours and all, which there are a lot of videos on YouTube, getting many YouTubes are there. I'm not doing any negative marketing where they just say learn Java in 10 hours. Clear? Then you are super intelligent. You are highly intelligent. Clear? Where you will be doing your complete Java within 10 hours. So just imagine how much skill you will develop within 1 month. Getting or no? In 10 hours you are going to become Java programmer. So next 10 hours you'll give for Dart, next 10 hours you'll give for some other language, and within 1 month you are super skilled. Clear? It's not like that. You have to spend, you have to not spend, you have to invest. It's called as an investment. You have to invest lot of time, then you make each and every concept clearly. Okay? So at appropriate time I'll come to it. That is what is abstract, what is final, what is static, okay, and what is public, what is private, what is protected, everything I'll tell you. So you got it. Before this, that two things can come. Then comes class. So is class a keyword? Class is a reserve word. Okay, and last, once this explanation is over, try memorizing it and try to write it on one paper. Okay, and see that how many full escapes you are able to write for the explanation about this first Java program. Okay, just try to memorize or just try to recall it, what all things he told, and try to reproduce it on one paper. And if it is possible, just share me, clear, that paper. I'll be very happy to see. Okay, but after the program is complete, first Java program explanation. Okay, so class is a keyword, and already I told you in Java nothing can be written outside class. You have to write everything within the class only. Okay, so the definition of your class will start with the keyword class. So class is a keyword. After that follows the name of the class. Okay, and you have to give some meaningful name, and it should be a valid Java identifier. Okay, so first is the class name. Okay, and it should be a valid Java identifier. Now you'll say, what is an identifier? So in other languages too you might have discussed it. Identifier. So identifier is a name. Like you people are identified. Yes or no? Like Shreya, Shreyas, and many other. Pratik is joined, then Harish joins, Rishikesh joins, Manthan. All are what? Clear, Pratik. So all you are identified by your name. So your name is your identification. So same way in your program, lot of things are there which are to be identified. So you will give the name to it, and that is called as an. So class is identified by its class name. Remember, Java will have its identifier naming rule. What are that identifier naming rule of Java? Again, a topic will come on it. Okay? But at this moment, remember, first is the name of the class, and it should be a valid Java identifier, and this is following. First is following the Java identifier naming rule. Okay, it's not going against the rule. Okay, then the entire definition of the class is to be encapsulated between open brace and close brace. So the complete body of the class is within open brace, close brace, and inside that what will come? Members. And who are the members? Data and methods. Data can be instance static, methods instance static. Right guys? Clear? Now we will talk about this method which we have written here. Only one method, main, for time being. Every class should have main is not compulsion. Some classes may not have main. Okay, so those class will act like a helping class. You will use it for object making in some other class. They will act like a helper class. And those class which have main, you'll call them as a launcher class or a driver class. Getting or no? Right? Sarathi, right? Who is going to take everyone ahead. Okay, so your program journey or the life of your program will start with main, and it will complete its life also with main. Okay, so remember, every class will have main, not compulsion. Okay, It's not necessary every class should have main. Some classes may not. So those classes you will use it only for object making, only for reusability purpose. Correct? And you can have many classes, and all class can have main also. Like in one program there are 3 classes and every class can have main. So all 3 class can act like a driver. They all can act like a launcher class. Means your application can start from any of that 3 class. Okay. So first we'll talk about that main. As much as possible in today's session we'll talk. Remaining discussion we'll do it in the next session. No problem. Okay. So main is a entry exit of your program, or you can say the entry point and the exit point. Okay. So main method is entry exit point of your application. Getting? Meaning every Java program starts its life with main and completes with main. You understanding? It will start its life with main and it will complete with main. Okay, it will start its journey. Means before that it is just born. Like in humans also, or in any category, when it is born, then inside the operation theater, when the doctor pats on your butt, so you start crying loudly, and then who all are sitting outside, clear, they all start congratulating each other, badayo, clear, and then it is informed that the child has started its journey of living its life in this world. Clear? Same way your program will start its life with main. So just before that it is born, means it has come into existence, in the memory it has come. It will start running from main, and from main it will run one by one statement. From there it may go somewhere else, like you also, few days you remain in India, then you get opportunity, you go to US, you go to UK, then there you go, you come back, again you go to some other country, you again come back, and then finally getting it gets over back from where you started. So main starts the life of your application and completes also with main. But main is not a keyword, remember. It is a compulsory function to act like an entry point. Means the entry point is main. Okay. But the name is not a reserved word. It is not coming in the keyword set. Please remember. It is not in the keyword set. It's not a reserved name. Getting? It is not at all a reserved name, but it is a compulsory function, right? From where the application will start and it will complete. Okay. So at this moment, you'll just remember main is the entry point. Your application start executing from main. Okay. Then this void is the return type of main, which it indicates that it is not going to return anything back to its caller. Okay. Now implicitly it may be returning something back to its caller, whatever. Here this indicate that void is representing nothing, means it is not going to return anything back to its caller. So there has to be some caller of main. So is main running under someone's control? So main is running under JVM's control. So when main get over, it will go back again to JVM. So it's not giving anything back to whom? To JVM. Indicating what? Void. So just remember, void means not returning anything back to its caller. Main indicate entry point. Execution start with main, complete with main. Void indicate main is not going to return anything. Main is not a reserved word. It is not a keyword, but it's a compulsory function. Getting? Then comes static. It indicates that main is static. So tell me, if main is static, inside main, which data of your class you can access? Can anyone tell me? The class is having some data. It's having static data also, instance data. Both data is there in the class. If I have declared some, so which all data this main can access? Both or only static data?
Only static.
Only static data. Static method
Only
can
static.
access only static, but instance method can access both.
Both.
Clear? But as main is static, okay, it can access only which data? Static data. Okay? But remember, main is static. Now you'll say, why they have made main as static? I'll tell you, don't worry. Clear? Main is static because to invoke main, means to call main, you don't have to create an object. You understanding? If I want to call main, if suppose this is not static, okay, if it is not static, so now tell me, is it an instance method? Now will it be an instance method or will it be a static method?
Instance.
Because you have not written keyword static. So when the keyword static is not there, so obviously it is instance. But you know that instance method, if you want to call it, if you want to call that method, you need to create what? Object.
Object.
Means unless and until you create object, can you call main? No. Now obviously to create an object, you'll write like this: first ob equal to new first, because you can combine the two lines, declaration and instantiation. It will declare one variable, it will instantiate, collect the reference in it, and then only you can call main. Yes or no, guys? But can I write these two executable lines directly here? No. I have to write these two lines somewhere. Somewhere means in some method only. So suppose I write it within one function f. Now tell me, these two lines, can they execute? Means can I keep these two lines open like this? No. You have to put it in some method. Okay? So if I put these two lines in some method, is it necessary to call that method to run these two lines? Means tell me when these two lines will execute. Only when f is called. Yes or no? Means unless and until f is called, main cannot get called. Do you agree, guys? Main won't get called till these two lines are executed. And to run these two lines, we have to call whom? F. But f is again instance. Means to call f, again what we have to create? Object. So this will keep going only, no? Yes or no? Correct? So very intelligent people, the Sun people are so intelligent. They have created the system in such a way, properly, intelligently thought, that as to start your application, you have to call main. But if main is kept instance, you have to create an object. Unless and until object is created, you cannot call main. And main cannot get called unless and until object is created. You understanding or no? And these two lines won't run till f is not called. And to call f, you again have to create object. And this will keep going, no? It will never stop. You understanding or no?
Yes,
Clear?
sir.
Okay? Means to call that f, again I have to create an object of that class, and then only I have to call ob.f. Now tell me, when I call ob.f, then only it will call ob.main. But again these two lines, can I keep it like this? No. Then obviously I'll put it in some other method, void g. Now again the same problem. To call g, what I have to do? Create object, which will never stop. Clear? So therefore they have decided this so intelligently that define main as static, so that to invoke it, what is not needed?
Object.
Clear? There is no need of object. So as there is no need of object for invoking main, can it be invoked directly in the context of JVM? can JVM only directly invoke main? As it is static, anyway there is no need to create an object to call it. Because it is static, it can be directly invoked in the context of main. Sorry, in the context of JVM. Getting? Means Java virtual machine only can invoke it because it is static. Agreed guys? Okay? So I hope the basic idea is clear to you ki why they have made main static. In one line to tell, main is made static because to invoke it, no need to create. To invoke it, there is no need to create object of your class. Getting? Now for today, we have to take pause over here. Then in the next session, I'll discuss about what is public. And then I'll discuss about that too, that if you drop static, what will happen? Instead of public, if I write private, if I write protected, if I don't write anything, what will happen? All that we'll discuss. Then we'll discuss about this string args also. Then we'll discuss about this system.out. Getting? And then the program will be over. Okay, and then gradually some more things, and if possible I'll show you downloading JDK and installing JDK also. Okay guys, okay? So for today we'll stop all of you. Thank you all of you.